I want you to imagine something with me for a second. Close your eyes and picture the most luxurious prison on earth. That was my life. My name is, well, it doesn't matter what they called me back then. What matters is that I was born inside the holiest city on earth, Mecca itself, in a palace so massive that the servants got lost in the hallways. My bedroom alone was bigger than most people's houses. The floors were Italian marble so polished I could see my reflection in them, like looking into black water every single morning. Gold dripped from the ceilings. The chandeliers were heavier than cars, and every window, every single one. For generations, our family has guarded these traditions and ensured the prosperity of our people.
Cage made of gold. From the outside, people would kill to trade places with me. I was the son of one of the highest imams in the kingdom, a man whose voice led the prayers for millions inside the Grand Mosque. When the adhan rolled out 5 times a day, it was my own father's voice echoing off the Kaaba itself. I grew up smelling oud and rosewater on his thobe, hearing the crowd scream Allahu Akbar when he finished a khutbah. I had everything. Private jets before I was 10. Bodyguards who would take a bullet for me. Women threw themselves at my feet just for a glance. Money? I never even touched it, someone else always paid. But inside? Inside I was dying every single day. You see, when you're that high, when you're that close to the center of the world's holiest place, you're not allowed to be human. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to want anything that isn't already decided for you. I remember nights when I was 15, lying on silk sheets that cost more than a car, staring up at a ceiling painted with 99 names of Allah in pure gold leaf, and I felt nothing. Nothing. I would press my face into the pillow so nobody heard me sobbing. Have you ever been so rich that you can't even buy someone who actually loves you? Have you ever been surrounded by hundreds of people bowing to you, and still felt completely alone? Like you're screaming inside, but the sound just bounces off the marble and dies? My father, oh, my father. People called him His Eminence. I called him Sir. Never Baba. Never Dad. Just Sir. He was tall, terrifyingly tall, with a beard so black it looked wet, and eyes that could freeze you with one look. When he walked into a room, everyone stopped breathing. Even the princes lowered their gaze. He had a voice like rolling thunder, and when he was angry, the walls themselves seemed to shake. I saw grown men, powerful men, tremble when he raised one finger. He decided everything. What I wore. What I studied. Who I spoke to. Who I was allowed to love if love was even a word he understood. And the worst part? He truly believed he was doing it all for Allah. Every slap, every locked door, every time he told me I was worthless unless I became exactly like him, he thought he was saving my soul. That's what broke me the most. The man who taught the world about mercy had none for his own son. I tried to be perfect. I swear I did. I memorized the entire Quran before I was 12. I led prayers in the Haram when I was 16. I fasted extra days. I gave millions in charity. I never touched alcohol, never looked at a woman outside marriage, never missed a single rak'ah. I was the perfect Muslim prince. But every time I bowed my head in sujud, I felt nothing. The silence was deafening. I started having nightmares. Terrible ones. I would dream I was standing inside the Kaaba itself, me, alone, in the middle of the night, and the black cloth was bleeding. Blood pouring down the walls, thick and hot, and I couldn't move. I would wake up gasping, soaked in sweat, my heart trying to tear out of my chest. I told no one. Who could I tell? My father would have had me flogged for weakness. My mother, she disappeared when I was 7. One day she was there, kissing my forehead. The next day, gone. They told me she went to visit family. Years later I learned the truth. She had dared to question my father's second marriage. They say she's still alive somewhere. I don't know. I stopped asking. So I smiled in public. I shook hands. I quoted ayahs perfectly. I posted beautiful photos on Instagram, me and Thob and Gutra, standing on a yacht in Jeddah with the caption Alhamdulillah for everything. Millions of likes. Millions of people telling me I was blessed, that I was goals, that Allah loved me the most. And every night I wanted to die. I remember one night. I was 23. I slipped out of the palace after Isha, past the guards, past the cameras. I walked barefoot through the streets of Mecca until I reached the Grand Mosque. It was empty, just a few cleaners. The Kaaba stood there like a black cube of judgment. I circled it 7 times, whispering dua after dua, begging for just one sign that I wasn't completely alone. That Allah saw me. That I mattered. I kissed the black stone until my lips bled. And nothing came back. Just silence. Cold, crushing silence. I sat down right there on the marble, put my head in my hands, and for the first time in my life, I whispered words I never thought I'd say. If you're real, if you're really there, then why don't you speak to me? Why is my heart dead? I didn't know it then, but that was the night everything started to break. That was the night the cage began to crack. And that was the night he heard me. Only it wasn't the he I expected. I was 25 when my father summoned me to the Majlis al-Kabir, the grand sitting room that nobody entered without trembling. The air in there always smelled the same, heavy oud smoke mixed with the faint metallic scent of fear. I walked in barefoot, like always, the cold marble biting into my soles. The room was dim, lit only by those massive crystal lanterns that threw shadows like prison bars across the carpets. My father was already seated on the raised platform, legs crossed, white thobe spotless, black bish trimmed in real gold thread draped over his shoulders like a king's mantle. 2 of his personal guards stood behind him, faces made of stone, hands resting on the hilts of ceremonial swords they were very, very good at using. I greeted him the way I was taught. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ya Sayyidi. Peace be upon you, my master. He didn't answer the salam. That was the first warning. He just stared at me with those black eyes that could peel skin. Then he spoke, voice low, like the rumble before an earthquake. Sit. I sat. He let the silence stretch until I felt it pressing on my chest. Then he lifted a small cup of Arabic coffee, sipped once, set it down perfectly centered on the golden tray. Every move deliberate. Every move designed to remind me who owned the air I was breathing. Finally he spoke. Do you know why you are still alive, Ahmed? My blood turned to ice. Nobody used my real name. Ever. I swallowed. Because Allah willed it, Sayyidi. He smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. No. Because I willed it. And because, until now, you have been useful. Useful. That word hit me like a slap. He continued, voice growing colder. You are 25 years old. You have no wife. No children. You spend your nights wandering the haram like a lost dog instead of building a legacy. People talk. The other imams talk. Even the royal court talks. They say the son of Sheikh Abdullah al-Mansur is soft. Weak. Perhaps even tainted. Tainted. The worst word you can say to a man in my world. I opened my mouth to protest, but he raised one finger and I shut it again. I have decided to fix this problem once and for all. He clapped twice. The doors opened, and in walked a girl. 16 years old. Maybe 17. Tiny. Veiled completely in black, only her eyes showing huge, terrified eyes lined with kohl. She was shaking so hard I could see it through the abaya. 2 female guards pushed her forward until she stood right in front of my father. He didn't even look at her. "This is Noura bint Fayez al-Gambi," he said. "Daughter of the governor of Taif. Pure blood. Memorized Quran at 9. From a family that has served the kingdom for generations. She will be your wife. The nikah is tomorrow after Maghrib. The walima will be attended by 3,000 people, including half the royal family. You will smile. You will thank me. And you will give me grandsons who will carry my name when I am gone." I couldn't breathe. I looked at the girl. She was staring at the floor, tears dripping off her chin onto the Persian carpet, leaving tiny dark spots. She was a child. A terrified child. I found my voice. It came out cracked. "Saidi, with all respect. I do not know this girl. She is very young. Perhaps we could." His hand moved so fast I didn't see it coming. The back of his knuckles cracked across my face like a whip. My head snapped to the side, blood flooding my mouth. "Do you dare," he hissed, leaning forward, "to find me in my own house?" I tasted copper. My cheek burned. The guard shifted behind him, ready. I whispered, "No, Saidi." He sat back, calm again, like nothing happened. "Good. Then it is settled." He turned to the girl. Still didn't look at her face. "You will be honored above all women," he told her veil. "You will live in luxury. You will want for nothing. And you will obey." She made the tiniest sound like a wounded animal and nodded. Then he dismissed us both with a flick of his wrist. That night, they locked me in my room. Not just the usual electronic lock, actual guards outside the door. My phones were taken. My passport. My laptop. Everything. I was a prisoner waiting for my own wedding. I paced like a caged lion. I screamed into pillows. I punched the marble wall until my knuckles split and blood smeared the white stone. At 3 a.m., someone knocked. Soft. 3 times. I opened the door a crack. It was one of the Filipina maids, Maria. A secret Christian. I only knew because I'd caught her once with a tiny cross necklace she had under her uniform. She risked her life to help me. She slipped me a phone. One text was already typed. It was from the girl. "Noura. Please help me. I don't want this. They will kill me if I run. Please." My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. I typed back, "I don't want this either. But if we fight, they will kill us both." She replied instantly, "Then we are already dead." I stared at those words until the screen went black. The next day, they dressed me like a doll. White thobe, gold bisht, expensive perfume poured over me until I reeked of wealth. They put coal in my eyes. They made me smile while photographers took pictures. The wedding was held in the palace ballroom. 3,000 people. Gold everywhere. Cameras flashing. The women ululating so loud my ears rang. I stood on the stage next to my father while the official read the nikah contract. He asked me the question 3 times, "Do you accept Noura bint Fayez as your wife?" Each time, my father's hand rested on my shoulder, fingers digging in like iron claws. I looked out at the sea of faces. All smiling. All celebrating. and I saw Noura, tiny and drowned in gold embroidery, being held up by 2 ants because her legs had given out. I opened my mouth. And for one terrifying second, I almost said no. But my father's grip tightened until I felt bone creak. I said yes. The room exploded in cheers. That night, they carried her to my bedroom like a sacrifice. She was crying so hard she could barely walk. They locked the door from the outside. I stood there, staring at this child bride, both of us shaking. I took one step toward her and she flinched like I was going to hit her. "I won't touch you," I whispered. "I swear by Allah, I will never touch you." She just sank to the floor and sobbed into her hands. I sat on the other side of the room, back against the wall, and for the first time in my life, I prayed for death to take me before morning. Little did I know, death wasn't coming. Something infinitely more dangerous was. The first month of that marriage was a slow death. We lived like two ghosts haunting the same palace. Noura stayed in the women's wing, I stayed in mine. Servants carried messages back and forth because we were too afraid to speak face to face. She sent me short notes on perfumed paper that smelled like jasmine and terror. They check my sheets every morning. "Please, what do we do?" I wrote back on torn pieces of paper I smuggled through Maria. "Be strong. I'm trying to find a way." But there was no way. My father had eyes everywhere. Even the walls had ears. The palace was wired with cameras I couldn't see. My new wife was watched day and night by her own aunt and 2 female guards. If either of us stepped out of line, the punishment would fall on both families. I started sleeping maybe 2 hours a night. I lost weight so fast my thobes hung off me like tents. My beard grew wild because I couldn't stand to look in the mirror anymore. When I did, I saw a stranger with hollow eyes and bruises on his soul. Every dawn, the adhan would call from the Grand Mosque, my father's voice booming across the city, and I would roll out my sajada out of habit. I would stand, bow, prostrate, and the words tasted like ash. Allahu Akbar. But inside I was screaming, "Where are you?" I started doing things I never thought I would. I began skipping prayers. First just 1, then 2, then whole days. I told myself it was exhaustion, but the truth was darker. I was testing him. Testing Allah. If he was real, if he loved me, he would strike me down for abandoning Salah, right? Nothing happened. No lightning. No earthquake. Just more silence. I started drinking in secret. Not alcohol, that would have been discovered instantly, but I found an old bottle of prescription sedatives one of the Filipino workers smuggled in for me. I would swallow 2, sometimes 3, just to knock myself out so I wouldn't have to feel anything. One night I took 4. I woke up vomiting on Italian marble while Maria held my head and cried, begging me in broken Arabic, "No, Sayyidi, no. Jesus loves you, please don't do this." I laughed in her face, bitter and ugly. "If your Jesus loved me, where is he now?" She went pale and crossed herself quickly, terrified someone heard. The worst day came 3 months after the wedding. My father summoned me again. Same majlis. Same cold marble. Same smell of oud and fear. This time he didn't even let me sit. He stood up, something he never did, and walked toward me until his face was inches from mine. I could smell coffee and anger on his breath. "Your wife is still a maiden," he said quietly. My stomach dropped through the floor. He knew. He continued, voice like a blade. "Do you think I am a fool? Do you think I spent my life building this name just so my only son could spit on it with his disgusting weakness?" I tried to speak. Nothing came out. He grabbed my throat with one hand, not squeezing, just holding, and forced me to my knees like I was a child again. "Tonight," he whispered, "you will go to her room. You will do what a man does. And tomorrow morning, those sheets will be brought to me stained with proof. Or I swear by the one who raised the heavens, I will drag you both to the public square in front of the haram and stone you myself for adultery and disobedience. Do you understand me?" His fingers tightened just enough that black spots danced in my vision. I choked out, "Yes, Sayyidi." He released me. I fell forward, gasping. That afternoon I wandered the palace like a dead man. I passed Noura's wing. The door was open a crack. I saw her sitting on the floor surrounded by torn-up Qurans, pages scattered like white petals. She was rocking back and forth, hitting her head against the wall, whispering over and over, "Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah." I couldn't go in. I couldn't even speak. That night, after Isha, they came for me. 2 male guards. They walked me to her room like I was going to an execution. They locked the door from the outside. Click. She was sitting on the edge of the bed in a white silk nightgown, face swollen from crying, hands twisting in her lap. When she saw me, she started hyperventilating. I stood there in the doorway, fists clenched so hard my nails cut into my palms. We stared at each other for what felt like hours. Finally she spoke, voice tiny and broken. "Are you going to rape me now?" The word hit me like a bullet. I sank to my knees right there on the carpet. "No," I whispered. "I would rather die." She started sobbing again, huge, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. I crawled across the floor until I was close enough to touch her, but I didn't. I just sat there, both of us crying like children. "I'm sorry," I kept saying. "I'm so sorry." At some point she fell asleep sitting up, exhausted. I covered her with a blanket and sat on the floor beside the bed, staring at the wall. I looked at the clock, 3:17 a.m. In less than 3 hours, they would come for the sheets. In less than 3 hours, both of us would be dead. I put my forehead on the cold floor and for the first time since I was a child, I prayed out loud, not in Arabic, not the memorized words, just raw, ugly screaming from the soul. "Allah, if you're there, if you see me, if you have any mercy at all, kill me tonight. Take me. Strike me dead right now. Because I can't do this. I can't hurt her. I can't live like this anymore. Please, please just end it." I waited. Nothing. No thunder. No angel. No sleep of death. Just the ticking of the clock. I lifted my head, tears and snot running down my face, and I screamed at the ceiling. "Then you're not real. None of it is real. You don't exist." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I've ever heard. I curled into a ball on the floor and cried until there was nothing left inside me. Empty. Hollow. Dead while still breathing. Have you ever been so broken that even despair feels too heavy to carry? That was me. I didn't know it then, but that was the exact moment he had been waiting for. The moment I finally let go of everything I thought I knew. The moment the false god fell silent. So the real one could speak. I don't know when I fell asleep on the carpet that night. I only know I woke up because someone was shaking me. Hard. "Sayyidi. Wake up. Please." Maria's terrified whisper. Her hands smelled of bleach and fear. She was crouched over me, eyes wide, a small black plastic bag clutched to her chest. "What time is it?" I croaked. 4:30. "They come at 5 for the sheets. You have to get up." Noura was still asleep on the bed, curled into a ball like a wounded bird. The room was dark except for the faint red glow of the smoke detector. Maria shoved the plastic bag into my hands. It was heavy. Wet. I did what I could, she whispered, voice cracking. Chicken blood from the kitchen, mixed with a little of my own. I soaked the sheet while you slept. It will fool them. But only for now. I stared at her. My mind wasn't working yet. She grabbed my face with both hands, forcing me to look at her. Listen to me. There is no more time. You asked me once where Jesus was. I am telling you now, he is here. He saw you tonight. He heard every word you screamed. I tried to pull away. Maria, stop. No! She was crying. I have carried this for 8 years in this house. 8 years hiding, praying in secret, waiting for one person who was broken enough to hear. You are that person. She reached into her apron and pulled out something wrapped in an old headscarf. She pressed it into my hands like it was on fire. I unwrapped it slowly. A book. Small. Cheap cover. Arabic text. Injil Sharif, the New Testament. My heart stopped. If they found this on me, death would be the kindest thing they would do. Read it, she begged. Just read. Start with John. I marked it. Page 73. I laughed, a broken, hysterical sound. You want me to die tonight? You are already dying, she hissed. I have watched you rot for years. This is life. Real life. Please, Ahmed. Trust me one time. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy boots. Maria kissed the little cross around her neck, shoved me toward the bathroom, and vanished like smoke. I stood there holding Satan's book in my shaking hands, listening to the guards outside the door talking about breakfast. I should have thrown it in the toilet. Should have burned it. Should have called the guards and turned Maria in to save my own skin. Instead, I hid it inside my pillowcase and crawled back onto the floor like a coward. They came at 5. Took the stained sheet. Grunted approval. Left. Noura woke up later, saw the blood, and vomited in the bathroom for 20 minutes. I couldn't look at her. That whole day I moved like a zombie. Smiled when spoken to. Ate nothing. My father clapped me on the back in front of guests and called me a real man now. I wanted to cut his hand off. At midnight I locked my bedroom door, told the guards I was sick, and pulled the book out with fingers that wouldn't stop trembling. I opened to the page Maria marked. John 1 verse 1. I read the first line out loud, whispering like a criminal. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. My throat closed. I had spent my life being told these words were corrupted, twisted, a lie from the Jews and Christians. But something in them burned. I kept reading. Verse after verse. The words felt alive. They moved inside me like they had weight, like they were looking back at me. I got to John 8 verse 32, You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Free. I laughed until I cried. Free? I was the least free human being on earth. I read all night. I didn't understand everything, half the concepts were foreign, dangerous, forbidden. But every time I tried to close the book, something pulled me back. Like a hand on my soul. At 4 a.m. I reached the story of the woman caught in adultery. The religious leaders ready to stone her. And this man, Jesus, steps in front of the stones and says, Let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. I saw my Father's face in every Pharisee. I saw myself holding the stone. I saw Noura on the ground. I dropped the book and fell to my knees, face in my hands, sobbing so hard my ribs hurt. "Who are you?" I whispered to the empty room. "Who are you really?" No answer. Just the hum of the air conditioning. I was too terrified to pray to him yet. Too brainwashed. Too guilty. But I kept the book. For 3 weeks I lived a double life. By day, the perfect Saudi prince, newly married, dutiful son, future Imam. By night, a thief stealing hours with forbidden words. I read Matthew, Mark, Luke. Every parable hit me like a hammer. The prodigal son, I wept like a baby. The crucifixion, I couldn't breathe. Why would God let himself be killed like that? And then I got to the part where Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." I slammed the book shut and threw it across the room. Blasphemy. Kufr. Shirk of the worst kind. If anyone heard me even read those words out loud, my blood would paint the courtyard by sunrise. I went to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left. Then I crawled back, picked up the book, kissed it like a lunatic, and kept reading. I started having arguments in my head. Everything I had been taught my whole life screamed that this was poison. But my heart, my dead, desperate heart, was coming alive for the first time. One night I found myself whispering, "If you're real, if you're really God, then prove it. Show me. I'll do anything. Just show me." I fell asleep with the book under my pillow, terrified and aching for something I didn't even have words for. That was the night he answered. Not with a voice. Not with thunder. But with a dream so real I woke up screaming his name. I fell asleep with my face pressed against that forbidden book, the cheap paper smelling of ink and Maria's tears. Then it happened. I was standing inside the Kaaba. Not outside, circling with the millions. Inside. The actual chamber. The walls were bare stone, cold and damp, lit only by a strange silver light that had no source. The air was thick, heavy, like breathing water. I could smell centuries of sweat and tears and whispered duas soaked into the rock. I was alone. Or I thought I was. My bare feet stuck to the floor. When I looked down, I saw blood. Thick, fresh blood pooling around my ankles, rising fast. I tried to step back, but my feet wouldn't move. The blood climbed my thobe, hot and sticky, up to my knees, my waist, my chest. I started to scream, but no sound came out. Then I heard footsteps. Slow. Bare feet on wet stone. I looked up. He was walking toward me through the blood. A man in a simple white robe, soaked crimson at the hem. Middle Eastern, like me. Dark hair falling over his shoulders. Skin the color of desert bronze. But his eyes. I can't explain those eyes. They were gentle and fierce at the same time. Like oceans on fire. Like they had cried every tear I ever cried, and still held all the stars. There were scars on his wrists. Fresh. Raw. Still bleeding. He stopped right in front of me. The blood was at my neck now. I was drowning in it. He reached out and touched my cheek with a hand that had a hole straight through the palm. I should have been terrified. Instead, every cell in my body relaxed. Like coming home after a lifetime in exile. He spoke. Not in Arabic. Not in English. I don't know what language it was, but I understood every word in my soul. Ahmed. My name in his mouth sounded holy. Why are you drowning in blood that I already shed for you? I tried to speak. Couldn't. He looked around the Kaaba, at the bare walls, at the blood rising, and his face filled with sorrow so deep it broke me. "All this time," he said, "you've been kissing a stone, when the real cornerstone was kissing your wounds in the dark." The blood reached my mouth. I started choking. He cupped my face with both scarred hands and leaned so close our foreheads touched. "I am the sacrifice you keep trying to make yourself. Stop fighting me. Let me carry you." I lost it. Completely. Sobbing like a child, trying to fall at his feet, but the blood held me upright. I managed to choke out one word, "How?" He smiled. And when he smiled, the whole Kaaba lit up like the sun lived inside him. "Say it," he whispered. "Say who I am." The words ripped out of me like they had been waiting my whole life. "You are Lord." The second I screamed it, the blood vanished. The stone walls vanished. I was standing in pure white light, weightless, cleaner than I'd ever felt. He pulled me into his arms. I felt the wounds in his hands inside against my chest, warm and alive. I clung to him and sobbed, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He held me tighter. "I have loved you with an everlasting love. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. Every lash you took from your father, I felt. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, I collected every tear. I never left you. You just couldn't see me through all the lies." I tried to pull back to look at him again, but he held me so close I could hear two hearts beating, mine and his. He spoke again, softer now, like a father to a terrified son. "Your chains are broken. The cage is open. But you have to walk out. Will you trust me?" I was crying so hard I could barely nod. Yes, Lord. Anything." Then he kissed my forehead, right between the eyes, and I felt fire and peace explode inside me at the same time. "Wake up, Ahmed. Wake up and live." I jolted awake on my bedroom floor, gasping, soaked in sweat and tears. The clock said 4:58 a.m. The adhan for Far hadn't even started. But I was on my feet, pacing, laughing, crying, hands raised to heaven. I fell to my knees and the words poured out, not memorized, not forced, just raw and real. "Jesus. Yeshua. You are the Son of God. You are Lord. I believe. I believe." I shouted it over and over until my voice cracked. I didn't care who heard. Something had changed inside me forever. The dead heart was beating again. The fear was gone. The chains, invisible, heavy chains I had worn my whole life, they were just gone. I grabbed the little New Testament, kissed it, held it to my chest like it was the most precious thing in the world. Then I heard the key in the lock. The door opened. 2 guards. My father behind them. His eyes went straight to the book in my hands. The look on his face. I smiled. For the first time in my life, I smiled at my father without fear. Because the king who just held me in the Kaaba? He was bigger than any man on earth. They dragged me by the arms through the palace corridors at dawn. My throat was soaked with sweat, my face still wet from tears of joy, the little New Testament clutched against my chest like body armor. I wasn't struggling. I was laughing. The guards thought I'd lost my mind. My father walked ahead of us, black-bished billowing like the wings of death. His back was rigid with rage. I had never seen him move so fast. We didn't go to the Majlis. We went straight down. Underground. To the room nobody ever talked about. The punishment room. Concrete walls. One metal chair bolted to the floor. A drain in the center that had seen too much blood. chains hanging from the ceiling like dead snakes. They threw me into the chair. One guard punched me in the gut so hard the air exploded out of me. Another ripped the New Testament from my hands and hurled it across the room like it burned him. My father stepped in and the door slammed shut. Just the two of us. Father and son. Sheik and apostate. He spoke so quietly I had to strain to hear. Repeat what you just said upstairs. I lifted my head. Blood dripped from my lip. I smiled through it. Jesus Christ is Lord. He is the Son of God. And He loves me. The slap came so fast my ears rang. Then another. And another. My head snapped left, right, left again. I tasted iron. He grabbed my hair and yanked my face up to his. You were my shame, he hissed. My only son, and you spit on everything I gave you. You spit on Allah Himself. I laughed again, softer this time. No, Father. For the first time, I'm not spitting on anyone. I'm free. His eyes widened, like he was seeing a jinn instead of his child. He turned to the guards. Bring the girl. My stomach dropped. Minutes later they dragged Noura in. She was barefoot, hair loose, face bruised where someone had already hit her. When she saw me chained to the chair, she screamed my name and tried to run to me. A guard backhanded her so hard she fell. I roared and lunged against the chains until my wrists bled. My father didn't even blink. He pulled out his phone, dialed, and put it on speaker. A man's voice answered, Naam, Sheikh? It was the chief executioner of Mecca's religious police. My father spoke calmly, like he was ordering coffee. I have 2 murtadeen in my house. One is my son. Prepare the swords. We will do it publicly after Jummah today. In front of the Grand Mosque. Let the Ummah see what happens to those who insult the Prophet, peace be upon him. The man on the phone hesitated. Your son, Sheikh? My father's voice turned to ice. Did I stutter? And no, Sayyidi. It will be done. He hung up. Noura was sobbing on the floor. I was shaking with rage and a strange, wild peace at the same time. My father crouched in front of me, close enough that I smelled his cologne mixed with hatred. Last chance, Ahmed. Renounce this kufr. Say the Shahada right now, and I will call it a moment of madness. You will be flogged, yes, but you will live. The girl will be sent home. Say it. He waited. I looked him straight in the eyes. And I started singing. Not in Arabic. In English, soft and broken, but loud enough for every guard to hear. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound, that saved a wretch like me. His fist smashed into my face. Something cracked, cheekbone or jaw, I don't know. Blood poured. I kept singing through the blood. I once was lost, but now am found. He lost it. Started hitting me himself, rings cutting, knuckles splitting skin. The guards had to pull him off me. When he stepped back, panting, face purple with rage, I was barely conscious. But I managed to lift my head and whisper. See you at the execution, Father. They locked us in separate cells underground. Mine was a concrete box with no light. They took my watch, my clothes, everything but the torn underwear I was wearing. Hours passed. I sat in the dark, singing hymns I didn't even know I knew. My body was broken, but inside I was dancing. At some point the metal door opened a crack. A hand slipped something through, my little New Testament, pages torn and bloody, but still there. Maria's shaking fingers brushed mine for a second. Then darkness again. They came for us just before Dur. Bound our hands with zip ties. Threw black hoods over our heads. Loaded us into separate vans. I could hear Noura screaming my name until they gagged her. The ride was short. The noise of the crowd hit me even through the hood, thousands of voices, angry, chanting. They pulled me out. The heat of the sun burned through the fabric. The smell, sweat, incense, blood already on the stones. They shoved me to my knees. I felt the rough wooden block they use for beheadings under my chest. The hood came off. I blinked against the blinding noon light. There it was. The Grand Mosque. The Kaaba itself, draped in black and gold, right in front of me. And surrounding us, tens of thousands of people. Phones up. Filming. Some shouting Allahu Akbar. Some weeping. Some silent with horror. My father stood on a raised platform in full Imam robes, microphone in hand. He began the speech. This day we cleanse a great sin from the Ummah. I tuned him out. I was staring at the Kaaba. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. I started laughing again. Quietly at first, then louder. People started murmuring. What is wrong with this murtad? My father's voice faltered. I lifted my bleeding face to the sky and shouted with everything left in me. Jesus Christ is Lord. He is alive. He is King. The crowd went dead silent. My father's face twisted into something inhuman. He gave the signal. The executioner stepped forward. Massive man. Sword already unsheathed, gleaming like fire. Noura was on her knees beside me now, put off, face swollen, but her eyes, when they met mine, were calm. She mouthed 2 words, "See you soon." The executioner raised the sword. I closed my eyes. And I said it one last time, soft, like a lover. Yes, Lord. I'm coming home. I waited for the blade. Instead, the ground shook. Not an earthquake. Something else. A roar, not human, rolled across the courtyard like 1,000 lions. Every phone screen in the crowd went black at the same moment. The sky turned white. Not bright, white. Like someone poured pure light over the world. And then I saw him. Not in a dream this time. Standing between me and the executioner. Real. Solid. Glorious. White robe blazing. Wounds shining like stars. The sword fell from the executioner's hands and he dropped to his knees, screaming. Every guard, every soldier, every single person in that courtyard hit the ground like gravity had tripled. My father alone stayed standing on the platform, mouth open, eyes wide in absolute terror. Jesus turned and looked straight at him. No anger. Just infinite sadness. Then he looked at me, smiled, and spoke, not out loud, but inside every cell of my body. Today is not the day you die, Ahmed. Today is the day you live. He reached down and touched the zip ties on my wrists. They melted away like smoke. He touched Noura's. Same. Then he was gone. The white light vanished. The crowd was on their faces, sobbing, screaming, some laughing hysterically. My father was on his knees now, clutching his chest, whispering over and over, Allahu. Allahu, like his mind had shattered. I stood up slowly. Tens of thousands of people, and you could hear a pin drop. I looked at the Kaaba. And I said, loud enough for every microphone to catch it. His name is Yeshua. And he is Lord. Then I took Noura's hand, and we walked straight through the parted crowd. Not one person tried to stop us. because every single one of them had just seen the king. We walked barefoot through a sea of bodies. Thousands of people were on their knees, some weeping, some shouting, some just staring at the sky like they'd seen the throne of God open. The air smelled of ozone and fear and something holy I can't describe. The Kaaba stood behind us, silent, like it knew its purpose had just been rewritten forever. Noura's hand was tiny and trembling in mine, but she didn't let go. Blood ran down both our faces, mixing with tears, but we kept walking. Past the religious police who were now on their faces. Past the soldiers whose rifles lay forgotten in the dust. Past my father, still on the platform, rocking back and forth, eyes empty like a man who just watched his entire universe burn. Nobody touched us. I heard someone behind me whisper, voice shaking, "It's true. He really is alive." Then another voice, louder, "Ya Isa. Ya Ruh Allah. Jesus, Spirit of God." The name of Jesus started rippling through the crowd like wildfire. We reached the edge of the courtyard. A black GMC was waiting, engine running. Door open. Maria was in the driver's seat, face streaked with tears, a wooden cross now openly hanging around her neck. "Get in," she screamed. We dove into the back seat. The door slammed. Tires screeched as she floored it. I looked out the back window. The courtyard was erupting. People standing now, shouting, some tearing off their ihram in hysteria, others falling to kiss the ground where Jesus had stood. I saw a mutawa, one of the bearded religious police who used to beat women for showing a strand of hair, on his knees, arms raised, screaming Isa ibn Maryam as Lord, over and over until his voice gave out. Maria was crying and laughing at the same time, swerving through the narrow streets of Mecca like a madwoman. "Where are we going?" I shouted over the engine. "Jeddah Port. There's a Filipino cargo ship leaving at sunset. The captain is my cousin. He's born again. He'll hide you." Noura curled against me, shaking. "They'll kill our families," she whispered. I kissed the top of her head. Jesus just stopped an execution in front of 50,000 people. I think he's got this. We ditched the GMC in an underground garage and changed clothes, simple jeans and hoodies Maria had ready. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. No thobe. No gutra. Beard matted with blood. Eyes wild with life. We split up for safety. Maria took Noura in one taxi. I took another with a Sudanese brother I'd never met before, another secret believer who risked everything to drive me. The journey to Jeddah was 2 hours of pure terror and prayer. Every checkpoint we approached, I braced for bullets. Every single one, the guards looked at us, went pale, and waved us through without a word. One even saluted. Word was spreading faster than we could drive. By the time we reached the port, the sky was orange with sunset, and the city was coming apart. Mosques that had been broadcasting my father's khutbahs for decades were suddenly silent. Social media was exploding, videos from the courtyard going viral worldwide. #Jesus in Mecca trended within an hour. The government tried to shut down the internet, but it was too late. The truth was loose. The cargo ship was old and rusty, flying a Philippine flag. The captain, a man named June, met us at the gangway with tears streaming down his face. He hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. "Welcome aboard, Brother Ahmed. The angels told us you were coming. They hid us in a container full of rice sacks. Smelled like heaven to me." The ship pulled out exactly at Maghrib. I stood on the deck, hidden behind crates, watching the lights of Saudi Arabia disappear behind us. Noura found me there. She had a blanket wrapped around her shoulders and the first real smile I'd ever seen on her face. She slipped her hand into mine. "Where are we going?" she asked. I looked up at the stars starting to appear. "Home," I said. "For the first time in my life, home." We sailed east, through the Red Sea, past Sinai where Moses once stood, toward freedom none of us had earned but all of us had been given. Behind us, the kingdom burned with questions it could no longer silence. Ahead of us, a new life. I fell to my knees on that dirty deck, salt wind tearing at my clothes, and I thanked the one who walked out of the Kaaba and into my heart. The one who turned my execution day into the day I was born again. I'm speaking to you now from a place I never thought I'd see, freedom. Real freedom. My name is no longer the one printed on a Saudi passport that doesn't exist anymore. I have a new name, written in a book that will never burn, the Lamb's Book of Life. Noura and I were married again, this time in a tiny church on a hill in the Philippines, with Maria crying in the front row and a handful of believers who risked everything to hide us. She's 20 now, glowing, studying nursing, laughing in a way that makes the sun jealous. We have a little boy with her eyes and my stubborn chin. We named him Isaac, because God kept a promise we never deserved. Some nights I still wake up reaching for chains that aren't there anymore. Some nights the sound of a siren makes my heart stop until I remember, I'm not in the kingdom anymore. I'm in the kingdom now, His kingdom. And no man on earth can rip me out of His hand. My Father. I don't know what happened to him in the end. The last video I saw, before we went completely off-grid, showed him in a hospital room, staring at the wall, whispering the name Yeshua over and over while scholars argued around him. Some say he disappeared. Some say he's under house arrest. I pray for him every single day. I really do. Because the same Jesus who broke my chains is big enough to break his too. The little New Testament Maria gave me? It's falling apart now. Pages loose, blood-stained, tear-stained, coffee-stained from too many late-night readings. But I still carry it everywhere. It's the only thing I brought out of Saudi Arabia besides the scars and the fire in my chest. And the fire is what I want to give you right now. Listen to me. I had everything this world says you should want, money that never ran out, palaces, private jets, a name that opened every door, millions of followers hanging on my every word. And I was suicidal. Dead inside. Because none of it, can fill the hole that only God Himself can fill. I tried religion. I tried perfect obedience. I tried prayers and fasting and kissing stones and memorizing holy words until my tongue bled. It left me emptier than ever. Then Jesus walked into the holiest place of my old religion, looked me in the eye, and loved me exactly where I was, broken, bleeding, blaspheming, terrified. He didn't wait for me to clean up. He didn't wait for me to deserve it. He just showed up, scars and all, and said, "You are mine." If you're watching this and your heart is pounding right now, that's Him. He's knocking. He's the one who sees every tear you've cried in secret. He's the one who felt every lash you took from your father, every word that cut you, every night you wanted to die. He's been there the whole time, waiting for you to stop running, stop performing, stop pretending, and just fall into His arms. I'm begging you, don't wait for a miracle in Mecca. The miracle already happened on a cross 2,000 years ago, and the tomb is still empty. Pray with me right now. Out loud. Wherever you are. Even if you're terrified. Even if someone might hear. Especially if someone might hear. Say it with me. Jesus. Yeshua. I believe you are the Son of God. I believe you died for me and rose again. I'm sorry for every sin, every lie, every time I chose darkness. Forgive me. Wash me. Make me new. I confess with my mouth and believe in my heart that you are Lord. Come into my life. Be my Savior. Be my King. From this moment on, I am yours. Amen. If you just prayed that, really prayed it, something just broke in the spiritual realm. Chains fell off that you didn't even know you were wearing. Heaven is throwing a party right now with your name on it. You are not alone anymore. You are loved with a love that will chase you to the grave and then raise you up again. You are free. And one day, maybe soon, maybe years from now, I'm going to stand next to you in a place with no more tears, no more pain, no more fear, and we're going to look at the scars in his hands and worship together forever. Until that day, live loud. Live free. And never, ever be ashamed of the one who was never ashamed of you. His name is Jesus. And he is Lord. Maranatha. Come, Lord Jesus. I love you. See you on the other side.